with new head coach Nick Sirianni. Doug Pederson recently addressed the drafting of Jalen Hurts by saying, "We continue to look for quarterbacks, and that's always something that will never change. We won a Super Bowl with our backup quarterback, and we've had to play with our backups a couple of times in Philadelphia. So we did that a year ago and brought in Jalen Hurts, not to undermine Carson Wentz, not to do anything to take away his job or anything, because Carson Wentz was our starter." All right, we're going to welcome back Swagoo. Okay. Carson Wentz, he obviously did not react well to the drafting of Jalen Hurts. He posted his worst career numbers statistically, but he's looking to turn it around in Indy. So, Keyshawn, would you rather have Wentz or Hurts?
I'd rather have Carson Wentz, no question about it. I think Jalen Hurts has a long way to go, and he probably will be a terrific quarterback in Philadelphia. But whether it's in Philadelphia or Indy, where Carson Wentz is, I know the body of work. I understand what Carson Wentz has done in this league. Yes, last year was not great. 15, what did he have? He had 16 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. No, I don't want that at all. But if you look at the years before that, the only problem that you have with Carson Wentz is staying healthy. Can he stay healthy? Unfortunately, out against the Los Angeles Rams, he tore his ACL. They went on to win the Super Bowl. He came back. He had a terrific campaign in 18. Not a bad campaign in 19. 2020 didn't go well, and I agree with Doug Pederson. You are always looking to upgrade the backup quarterback position. Jalen Hurts was there. It didn't go well. You drafted him, so you said, I'll tell you what, let's give him an opportunity, because clearly Carson Wentz's head was not on right. He was seeing ghosts, whatever you want to call it. It was problematic in Philadelphia, both on and off the field. A change of scenery is going to work out for him in Indy with Frank Reich. Clearly, he missed that relationship with Frank Reich. Now he has the relationship again in Indianapolis for the Colts, a team that's primed to make a strong playoff run. If you think about the aging Phillip Rivers, he was in a dogfight in Buffalo last year in the playoffs. Phillip Rivers, as old as he was, and you don't think if you can insert Carson Wentz into the same lineup, no major changes for this football team, with a coach that he loves, that understands him, the same page, that he can't get them past the Buffalo Bills or at least into a deep run into the playoffs? Because I believe so. I would certainly think that Carson Wentz is going to change a lot of people's minds this year in Indianapolis. And I know a lot of people look at what went on in Philadelphia and they say this guy's done. He's a problem in the locker room. He's a head case. We don't want to deal with a guy that thinks this way. Change of scenery goes a long way for a lot of players in professional sports.
Damn it, Key, we were 1 for 1. Man, I thought we was going to agree on this one, too. I'm taking Jalen Hurts, bro. And listen, to your point, Carson Wentz is more talented than Jalen Hurts. He has more tools and ability when you think about playing the quarterback position. But you know who else has more talent and tools as well? Dak Prescott. And we've had this conversation for years about who would you want, Carson Wentz or Dak Prescott? From a physical trait, from a physical ability standpoint, I'm taking Carson Wentz. But the mental makeup of a quarterback, Key, is paramount, especially when you start talking about guys that's going to have to go through some adversity. And the only reason I'm talking about taking Jalen Hurts over this is, one, because I've seen Jalen Hurts go through this process as Alabama, so maybe I'm a little bit too close to this. But I know his mental makeup. I know that he can go through things that are hard and go through trials and then overcome them. Like, people have been telling this kid he can't play quarterback for a long time. He was the freshman of the year at the University of Alabama. Job was taken over by Tua. Tua goes down. He has to come back in and perform at a high level. You think about what he did in Philly. Philly was not a great team. All of the things that were cast on Carson Wentz last year was not just Carson Wentz. They had trouble on the offensive line. They had trouble with the conversations between Doug Pederson and Carson Wentz. There was a lot of things. Weapons on the outside when it comes to receivers. A lot of things transpired. The one thing I didn't see Carson Wentz do is get on television or in interviews and take responsibility for the things that were going on, even if they weren't his fault. And I believe that's a trait that a lot of quarterbacks need to have. We just came off of a conversation with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers hadn't had all of the great things at his disposal, but he's made do. And I'm not comparing the football players. I'm comparing the mental makeup. Carson Wentz had to go with a guy, and obviously we all want to be around coaches we love and in systems that we think would be great for us. But sometimes that's not the case in the NFL. You may have to go through 1 or 2 years. I did not like how he responded to adversity. I did not like how he responded to Nick Foles being the guy that finished the Super Bowl run, even though during that regular season, Carson Wentz was magnificent. I had this conversation with Dan Orlovsky, and y'all know how much he loves Carson Wentz. Well, used to. Now it's Baker Mayfield. They best buddies now, and they doing their thing together. Yeah. But the bottom line is, man, when I think about Jalen Hurts versus Carson Wentz, I'm strictly going to the mental makeup of these guys. And I'm also going to the fact that I believe Jalen Hurts has that thing that gets guys to rally, galvanize, and follow behind him a little bit more than Carson Wentz does. Carson Wentz has to go fit in Indianapolis. I believe he's going to play well. That's already a playoff team. I believe he's one of the guys, if not the guy with the most pressure on him in the league, not to take away from what the Colts have done already, to your point with Phillip Rivers. But when we start having conversations about these two guys, I want a dude that's going to be standing in the mud with me, and I don't know that about Carson Wentz. I'm not saying he can't or he hasn't evolved to that, but I know Jalen Hurts going to stand in the mud with me when it's good or bad.
Marcus, just real quick, devil's advocate. When you talk about mental makeup here, you'd rather go with Jalen Hurts. He's played 1 season. How do you know who he is in the face
4 games.
Even better, how do you know who he is in the face of adversity?
Roz, I know Jalen Hurts is not going to check out, and that's why I prefaced it by saying watching this dude in college. Like, that's the biggest sample size that we have. If you go back and look at quarterbacks and athletes in college, there was none that went through what Jalen Hurts was pulled during a national championship. And Tua came in, and then go ahead, Key.
No, I was going to say that's true, Marcus. He has the makeup, the mental makeup based on his college resume. No question about it.
Yeah.
But don't you give some credit to change of scenery? When things go so bad, you can be a bad player, a bad person in a certain situation. And when you leave that situation, all of a sudden, it's different. People treat you different. They talk to you different. You feel different. That's why I feel like in terms of which quarterback, I'd rather have Carson Wentz, because I think the change of scenery, you're going to get the 2017, 18, 19 Carson Wentz. And if you don't, then he don't belong in the league. That's just it.
And which is, if I could jump in here, which to me is a guy that was once 11-2 and an MVP candidate and a legit one before the ACL, that's a guy I can rally around. Meanwhile, I'll say this, get the oven mitts on, Jalen Hurts wasn't drafted to be a starter. They never expected him to. How long did it take Doug Pederson to finally commit to it? He didn't really want to because he knew what he had. Yeah, I'm a big Alabama fan, so I watched his career. So you're right. He was taken out of a championship game and was a great teammate, absolutely great teammate, said all the right things after the fact. But he still was taken out of a national championship game because one of the best coaches ever said, I can't win with this guy. I got to change it up. So he did. He is what he is. A guy that you certainly would love to have as a teammate, no doubt about it. I want him in the foxhole with me because of his toughness and everything about it. But when it comes to who do I want as my quarterback, I want the guy that had me at 11-2, the guy that had me, or that was an MVP candidate, because I can rally around talent. And I know that when he started having his issues, that was a personnel problem. That was guys around him that he's like, I can't trust it. I'm not about to get my clock cleaned right now. Because he got hit a lot with that offensive line getting old and breaking down. He didn't trust anything happening in front of him. He's in Indianapolis. He has a fresh start and a coach who believes in him. It allows him to go back to being that guy in 2017 that we saw.
I think it's important to note, fellas, and listen, we all know the game of football, and I understand absolutely what you guys are saying, man. But when I look at this situation, I'm not looking at it from comparing everybody around the league. Dallas went through the same exact thing. They went through the same thing. And obviously, people around you and the team around you is going to impact a lot of that performance. I remember watching Jalen Hurts in that first game against the Saints saying, damn, he got something. He can play in this league. Obviously, you got to surround him with talent like any other quarterback. Dak Prescott was drafted in the 4th round. They never planned on him seeing the field. And Tony Romo back went out, and all of the talk about Dak Prescott was he was raw, he wasn't ready, he didn't have all you needed to have to be a starter in this league. And I'm not saying Dak is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but we all in agreement, I believe, that you can win with Dak Prescott if you put him in the right situation and have the right guys around him. I think that for Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz is going to have to prove to me that adversity can hit, he can answer the bell and fight through it.